what brings us out today is the digging of roots. In particular, today we're going to be digging nettle roots, the roots of Urtica, Dioica, of the Urticaceae family. And why is today so amazing for digging roots? Because we've had 3 hard frosts and the ground is still not frozen, but all the energy of the nettle plant has descended down into its roots, and so that's when we come to gather roots. Why do you want to gather roots? Well, for myself, I have a crazy recipe where I make a hair pomade. It's a hair tonic, scalp tonic recipe, and nettle root is part of that formula. I'm not sure why you would want to gather nettle roots, but another reason to gather nettle roots is also to keep the nettle patch intact. So nettle loves to creep out. It loves to grow and create crazy amounts of, takes over a good amount of landscape. And the idea is to keep the roots in check. And so I'm at the edge of one of the nettle patches, and I'm going to come in here, I'm going to dig up those roots. Now these roots grow laterally, so they stretch out horizontally in the earth, and we want to follow those roots with our fingers. You really don't need a deep digging fork or anything. It's a very shallow root system, and you're just going down in there and gathering these ropey looking roots. So that's what we're going to do right now. Here's new growth of nettle from the rootstock. This would become next year's full-on plant. And this connects to a long rhizome, a long rootstock, which we're going to unearth. That's what we're looking for. And along the rhizome, you'll see other shoots coming up just like that. Here is the nettle that has passed away. It's no longer alive, and this is what it looked like in, maybe a month or 2 ago. This particular plant, nettle, can grow to 6 feet, and what we have here with us has already been cut, so it really doesn't have the height of a full-on nettle stalk. Let's find some of those beautiful roots, and it's pretty straightforward. You go in here where that dead nettle was, and also you can see that these new shoots, they're attached. And there is part of this is what we're looking for. This, let me just show you clearly here. So we flip it over and you can see nettle rootstock and nettle hairs and nettle shoots. And I actually will keep those little shoots in as well in this medicine prep. So I'm going to keep running through the soil and looking for these. You can see how cool actually some of the rootstocks are. They're actually kind of a fuchsia. And then also the bigger roots are actually a kind of a beige and more ropey. Actually, I should just say that this is more of a rootstock or a rhizome. An underground stem really is what's happening here, but we're still going to use that in our prep today. So here we are, rooting around for nettle root, and I'm looking for those nice nettle roots. That's a good looking one, and sorting through roots is essentially the game here, and want to make sure that I'm not using a different root. That's a beautiful one. I'll show you up close in a moment a couple more of these just so you get a sense. But and again, I'm controlling my nettle patch by doing this, and that is not a nettle root I do not want. So yeah, as I'm doing this rooting, let's just talk a little bit more about nettle. It is an aggressive spreader. It's a perennial. It is native to Europe and to the United States. And it loves rich, moist soil, full sun to part shade. And I think the game with nettle, first of all, I'm a huge nettle fan. This is a nettle root digging time, but we definitely celebrate this plant in other seasons. Of course, we're eating it, we're making medicine from its leaves, its seeds. Sorry, but that is not a nettle root. Goodbye. So, what was I saying about nettle? So you really want to give it its space, because I'm a really big fan of nettle. I feel everyone should have a good nettle patch in their reach, but the issue is you want to make sure that you give it its space so it can really run around. And then you can do this controlling it by lifting these roots up and making medicine, or you can replant those roots in another friend's garden, not garden, but area where they'd like it to be. So the idea is actually what I'm doing right now is I'm controlling the patch, but I'm actually even able to take some of those new tips that you saw in there with root attached and plant them somewhere else and get a whole new nettle patch rolling on. Again, rich, moist soil. If the nettle doesn't like dry, sandy situations, at least from what I can see. So, yeah, but I need a lot of nettle roots for what I'm doing, and this is not a nettle root. So, in case you didn't know, I'm in a very wild spot of my garden here. My garden is very wild, and so I'm working with lots of different kinds of roots. Okay, I'll keep doing this for another chunk of time, but I also want to take you to a macro view of the roots. I've laid out here on the table a beautiful diorama in a sense of what you're going to find, all the way from a dead nettle aerial stem that we don't want in our medicine to all of what's happening underground, and actually right above the ground the fresh new shoots are here too, and that's all part of our medicine, and you will get a close-up of that in a moment. But so let's do that. Here is last year's nettle that is now dead. And you can see it, and it does grow to 6 feet tall, but we have one just a couple feet here. And here we have underground stems of nettle. They're very exciting because they're popping new nettle shoots. These will become next year's stalks. They also are exciting because you could plant this. I've dug it up to become part of my hair pomade, but you could plant this and get a very vibrant nettle plant happening through this section of the underground activity. So you can see that this is also a fuchsia color, and it's not a very lignified underground stem here, unlike the root that if we move over, I'm going to show you. And here you can see that the rootstock of nettle is lighter in color than the underground stem. It's a kind of how would you say, a beige or a tan, and it's pretty woody. And we have root hairs here, roots all through. This is all nettle root, which will become part of our medicine today. Here I'm holding a magnificent nettle root. This is a really nice thicker one, and just to review, I'm going to be using the nettle root along with the underground stems and even the fresh, vibrant new growth. That's all going to become part of the Herbal Deluxe Hair Pomade, and I'm going to wash these roots well, and I'm going to actually dry them, and then I'm going to coarsely grind them, mix them with other herbs that are in the formula, and they're going to get infused in olive oil, and then that will become a really nice hair and scalp tonic. So, may this beauty of nettle enter into your life. I'm pretty excited about nettle roots, actually. I'd actually like to know, I actually would want to know more how people are using nettle root, and if you are, please share in the comments. But if you've enjoyed this and you would like more, check out my online course, Wild Food Health Boosters and Herbal Remedies at wildfoodhealthboosters.com. See you next time.